Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some very intriguing news going on and some kind of bad Microsoft news coming out over here. So as you guys know, there's been a few kind of big, like heavy hitter, kind of clickbait type things that are going out when it comes to the big debate between Xbox and PlayStation. Now, this also kind of keeps on stemming down into the Activision acquisition, the big Call of Duty talks, but right now, the big drama of what's happening with all these studios is that each studio, either it's Xbox or PlayStation, keeps on trying to play themselves as the underdog, where they're not doing so well, they're not making that much money. The PlayStation has better single-player games, no, Xbox has trillions of dollars of funding from Microsoft. Whatever it may be, their big scheme is to go and say, hey, we're not doing so well. But right now, we actually have some pretty bad news when it comes to Microsoft, where it actually does seem like they actually missed some pretty big subscriber targets, and it actually might be some really bad news, kind of doing a little bit of a deep dive on it. Now, there's also a lot of big kind of people talking about how much they love Game Pass, how folks are saying how much money has apparently been leaked for a Game Pass game, and there's a lot of little various Game Pass news. So very first and foremost, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, and to be eligible for our PS5, Xbox Series X, or $500 giveaway. We also have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below for those bonus entries, so make sure you guys hit those on up. And as well, we also have the Amazon links, Cyber Monday links, and all that stuff too. And let's dive into the video. So we have some very intriguing news coming over here where it comes to Microsoft that has apparently now been missing their Game Pass subscriber targets by now over 10 million subscribers. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean this is a bad thing. I mean, granted, for shareholders and people who always want to see that growth on growth on growth on growth on growth, yeah, that's kind of maybe bad news. But for this is actually not that really bad of a situation. Now, obviously, because it means like we're still maintaining, they're still going to have Game Pass subscribers. It's just really bad on that kind of like, big corporate mindset of we always need to have revenue growth. We need to have expansion growth. We need more hires. We need like the GDP to go up, all that type of stuff. So Microsoft has now missed out on the forecasted subscriber target for a subscription service, Xbox Game Pass, by 10 million subscribers. In its response to the CMA's issues statement published on the 14th of October 2022, Microsoft has stated that it actually has been fallen short of hitting its estimated subscriber targets for the Xbox Game Pass by 10 million subscribers. Now, they've been a little bit like sketchy in terms of releasing these numbers, but as well, they almost have to keep on pushing this narrative that they're not like this huge monster in the gaming world. They're big, but they really want everyone to think that they're on that really solid third place. But I do think in terms of like Nintendo, I'd probably say Xbox is a little bit bigger. Now, obviously, Nintendo has sold like 100 million consoles. It's like its own complete different beast. But when it comes to things like, let's say, Nintendo Online, they're not making as much money. When it comes to other various things such as Game Pass, that has a larger, like big AAA pull and a lot more indie game pull and a really good value. And same thing too as well with Microsoft money and all this investments. And if they get Activision, it'll be a huge change up. You guys have heard these in many different videos. But according to Microsoft, Game Pass actually accounted for less than 5% of value of digital distribution across that was hard. Digital distribution of gaming content globally. So they're trying to be like, hey, we're tiny, we're small. If you guys give us these big deals, we'll cook it up. And we're also not even hitting our goals because the technology is rough, the tech sector, layoffs, and everything in between. So even just looking at multi-game subscription services alone, it is Sony, which is actually larger in revenues today. Since its launch in 2017, Game Pass has gradually grown to approximately 25 million subscribers, and as mentioned above, this is 10 million fewer subscribers than was forecasted by the company for the fiscal year. So, they have around 25 million subscribers, which is good, and for a growing program, that's huge. But to really kind of hit those numbers that they want to expect on like 10 million plus, they're going to probably really have to focus on like India, China, Japan, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, or whatever it may be, and that's going to probably be their next big expansion growth. But it kind of goes to show that their market share value is very small at under 5%, and at the fact that they're also not growing as big as expected, it kind of goes to show that like, hey, UK and American regulators, we're kind of big, we have good backing, but we really aren't like the number one. And we're also not number one by a large margin because they're technically number 3 in comparison. So the software giant states that much of the existing growth has come from an undisclosed number of Xbox console users' accounts for an undisclosed percentage of subscribers across all Game Pass tiers. Microsoft argues, though, in reality, Game Pass has no market power today, which I think is kind of also hard to judge Mainly because they spend all these billions of dollars on Bethesda, and no Bethesda game has come out yet. They want to go and buy Call of Duty and all these other various games, and we also haven't had a chance to see how a huge AAA game that's like an open exclusive doing, like Forza and Halo are technically Xbox exclusives, if you guys get what I mean. So it's kind of hard to say because maybe Bethesda's buyouts and have like the Fallouts and the future Skyrims, or not Elder Scrolls, future, Starfields, might actually be a bigger impact. We just haven't had them released yet, so we don't really necessarily know. But they also are saying, though, too, is that even games like Call of Duty is important to their actual subscription services, but it says it has enough market power to power up Game Pass and then accelerate its growth was, well, way beyond anything that the service has able to achieve so far. And that's why, like, these regulators are worried because they don't want them to go too much of a deep dive and make so much on this. But that's why they want it. Like, they're like, hey, like, we didn't hit our goals. Other companies are bigger. Like, throw us this bone and we might become maybe number one if we're lucky. But even if we're number one, it won't be by a huge margin. While these big regulators are more so worried about, like, both smaller companies trying to get in, but as well as, like, the future, let's say 10 years from now, they almost want to stop a huge megacorp from happening if they actually can. So it also did go and ask the CMA to show that this alone will undermine and weaken all the other subscription services that either do not yet exist or currently do not rely on Activision content for any of their offerings. Microsoft finds either scenario extremely implausible, and they're trying to push like, hey, like we're still an underdog, get us on in. Now, when it comes to all this stuff, I was doing a little bit more deep dive into the Xbox Game Pass news too, because it kind of goes to show that there's been some interesting stuff. Number one is that we've been seeing like a lot of different polls saying like, hey, would you go and switch to Xbox or Xbox Game Pass if Call of Duty was on the Game Pass? I want to know in the comment section down below, because this actually has been the big heated topic. I myself would probably just go use Game Pass and play Call of Duty on my PC. I've been very upfront on that one. I have a PS5. I'd probably still play my exclusives on my PS5, like the God of Wars, etc. I'll probably play all these Activision games on PC. And the one thing that wrote me on in is I'm a little bit of a World of Warcraft nerd. I've played it a few times. It's not like I maybe played 2 expansions or so far. If that was also roped in on Game Pass, I'd be down. I would actually do it. Like, I'd probably play it maybe if I could. But I want to know what you guys think as well. Like, do you guys think it's a big enough switch over to say this to? Like, a lot of folks, let's just do a casual vote, and let's go and kind of see. Saying I already own both consoles, so 22% of folks don't even care. No, I don't play COD games, so that's another 39%. So it's already like, what, at that point, like, what, 60% or so, give or take. I know I play COD games regularly, but I also play a lot of PlayStation exclusives. Yes, I only play on Xbox exclusives, and yes, it'd be a great value. So even just from this random smaller poll, like it just kind of goes to show that some people just don't really maybe necessarily care at the end of the day, especially when it comes to Game Pass. I think it's like a bonus value. I'd probably use it for Game Pass, but I'm not crying at the end of the world if it somehow doesn't go and work. So very intriguing to kind of see how Xbox is having some really bad news and how just kind of losing a lot of these deals. But they also did have some pretty interesting news too as well, kind of highlighting that some of these big market deals for Game Pass are pulling a lot of money. So over here from a LinkedIn profile from the Xbox Game Pass content strategist, Ben Forovu, he has basically worked on all these deals, from a few deals from probably indie games for under $1 million to apparently some of these big deals over $100 million. And I'm very curious to see on which games actually pulled that much money, especially because some things like Bethesda costed, what, like $7 billion, $6 billion alone? Very curious to see, because not many games are that big. So such content investments have grown the Game Pass from 10 million to over 25 million, but it does kind of go to show that you have to spend money to go and make money. And they've had this, I'll go and mention some of these where they have like, hey, drive content valuations and develop win-win deal situations and structures that maximize partner value and return of interest for Microsoft. Have worked on deals of all sizes, from net warrant less than 1 million to 100 million opportunities, and content investments have grown Game Pass from 10 million to 25 million subscribers to as well. And now I'm very curious to see, because they've had these mentioned. So they have MLB The Show, which would probably be a few $1 million, I'd imagine. GTA 5, probably a few $1 million. Same with the GTA Andreas. The NBA 2K is probably a few $1 million. Rainbow Six Siege, a few $1 million. Back for Blood, maybe a few $1 million. Mortal Kombat's probably up there. Stalker 2 is a bit lower. Hades probably a little bit lower. And then some of these other games too might be on the lower side too as well. So I just want to know which one of these random deals were worth over $100 million. I really kind of want to know. Maybe the EA Play partnership, maybe some of like Ubisoft stuff. Not really sure. I mean, some of these MLBs, if that's a PlayStation exclusive, not really sure. But as you guys know, we've been seeing all this type of stuff where people are hyped up for this stuff. They like seeing this news. But at the end of the day, it's kind of really bad news showing on how many people have not hit their subscriber goals, and it seems like a lot of folks are also unsubscribing to as well. So give me your thoughts and comments down below. Make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, or $500 giveaway. We have the Twitter and Twitch stream down below if you guys want to follow. We have the Amazon links and all the Black Friday links and all that too. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching here in the first place.